Hello, beautiful soul. I am so happy that you are here because today we are going to be discussing something about empaths that so often flies under the radar. We're going to be talking about your empathic superpower as a projector. And I bet most of you did not even realize that you had that ability. So we're going to break it down, get settled in. This is Chat and Channel Session. I am your host, Danielle, #damsel at Design Edits of damseldesigns.com. I am a spiritual advisor, psychic medium, quantum channel healer, and energy artist. And in these chat and channel sessions, my guides, or in some cases some of you, present me with a topic and we have a stream of consciousness channeling about it. So today's topic, as you can see, is empaths as projectors, as I said. Now, before we deep dive and get started, I want to invite you to like this video so that you can bookmark it and come back to it absolutely anytime you need a pep talk as an empathic projector, or anytime you are feeling down in your empath abilities and need that boost. I also want to invite you to get out a journal or your favorite notes app if you like during this or subsequent listenings, and do some stream of consciousness writing along with me as I am stream of consciousness channeling. My guides have activated my voice with something that we call vocal LightCodes. So that means that listening to this gives you the ability to be activated if you so choose, and to start to form your own stream of consciousness connections with your guides. So you can actually write and get some of your own information as we are conducting this session. And if you like, you can connect through the chat portion of this chat and channel session and ask me any questions that you like, either during the live premiere, or you can leave your insights, your activations, or your general questions in the regular comments if you are listening to this after the premiere goes live. So let's get started. I want to touch on the fact that many people don't realize that empaths are actually born and made. This means that yes, many empaths come to Earth as more awakened souls and individuals, perhaps also on mission to help others and help the planet. So these people can be part of what Dolores Cannon's work refers to as the 3 waves of volunteers, meaning that we volunteered to have life on Earth, noticing that the planet was going through a frequency change and perhaps needed some aid. And with this ability as a 3-wave volunteer, although I do believe that there are more than 3 waves in my experience, which has expanded after Dolores Cannon's work and passing, we talk about the fact that even being one of these volunteers means that simply walking into a place, you have the power to shift the energy. Now, this could be walking in physically or walking in via your presence online, which we're also going to be talking about. But that's important to remember because a lot of empaths get into this martyrdom cycle where we believe that we have to do a lot, or we have to answer every call or show up for everything in order to be helpful. And what I want you to remember first and foremost before we discuss anything else is that you have an innate ability to be helpful, to be healing, to be peaceful, calming, and or activating to the world simply by being you and doing your own internal work, being self-aware, working on your patterns and working on improving your life for you will automatically shift frequency for others as well. So I hope that some of you keep that in mind and start to be less hard on yourself as you go about the mission that you believe that you have in the world, or the positive changes that you want to see and create in the world. I also want to talk about the fact, as I said, that empaths are both born and made. So we can be born with these missions and these frequencies, as we've discussed, but many empaths are also made via an adaptation and a trauma response. Many of us are born to families with chaotic environments, or to families with caretakers who either do not have the opportunity to be around for us very often, or who are what's referred to as emotionally immature parents. They could perhaps struggle with boundaries, not know what boundaries are, or not respect boundaries, let alone teach them to us. Or they could have something called NPD, which is narcissistic personality disorder, BPD. I have also found people who struggle with ADD or ADHD tend to struggle with this as parents, where they seem to create children who turn on these adaptive, empathic abilities, where we as children come into these environments with sometimes less awakened souls. Less awakened does not mean any less in their soul sovereignty and their respect that we should give them as a soul. It just means that they haven't yet stepped into the power or into the lifetimes to be able to be willing to rather be self-aware and responsible for their energy, and to interrupt, heal, and change the patterns that have been passed down in the family line. Now, many of us as empaths come in as those pattern interrupters, and in doing so, people will often notice and recognize the fact that we are very mature, right? We're often the children that do not want to be trouble or problems or burdensome to others, because we see, as an example, feel, or are actually told about all the problems that our parents or caretakers may be experiencing. And so we take on an adaptive ability as an older soul to be mature before our time and to take on more responsibility than we necessarily need to take on. And in doing so, we form these habits and patterns, and we turn on the made empathic adaptations and abilities. So this is where we step into the role of being codependent, perhaps with our caretakers, and thus later in life being codependent with the other people that we have relationships with, perhaps even being codependent with our relationship with the universe itself. And we step into this role that says, I'm attuning to the negative, I'm attuning to the problem, I'm attuning to the problems that my parents or my relatives or people that are raising me are having, and I'm seeing those, I'm seeing them struggle with them, I am seeing my caretakers not take care of those problems or not resolve them, so I need to step into that role, I need to help with that, I need to help heal that. And so this is where our nervous system and our chakras that are forming early in life take on this pattern of disruption and difficulty, and these belief systems that start to form within us that say that we are responsible for those problems, that we need to help with those problems, that those difficulties can only perhaps be resolved by us, and we can even form an unhealthy relationship with the universe itself because of these beliefs. And then we take on this way of being an empath where we lose control of that tuner, of that transmitter, of that function, because it has a set point towards attuning to the problem, attuning to the need, attuning to the difficulty. Again, this comes from, in my experience, growing up with childhoods where our needs were probably ignored, not respected, not taken care of, or not understood by our caretakers, and or by childhoods where we noticed that our caretakers did not know how to, or did not have the ability to take care of their own needs and also give us an example of what fulfilling your needs looks like in a healthy way. And so then we develop this unhealthy way of being an empath and having our tuner constantly set to pick up on the problems, to pick up on what we could do, what we could fix, what we could heal, as we were saying. And I'm repeating a little bit here because I want this information to get into your psyche and let you know and help you remember this was not your fault. This was not your choice. This was not your decision consciously at the time. Although you may have unconsciously agreed to an experience to learn these things in this way, growing up that way was the responsibility of your caretakers at the time while you were developing, if they were able to see the pattern and change the pattern. However, now you can be responsible and you can understand and learn about yourself, and you can heal that pattern. You can recognize the fact that your emotional response system, your nervous system itself, may be constantly being overwhelmed and bombarded by external energies, right? This also happens because we didn't grow up knowing what boundaries looked like with physical people in our lives. And so we can also lose sight of what boundaries look like energetically. So we can feel very overwhelmed until we start to understand and implement psychic and energy boundaries and or protections. Protections you have to be careful with because sometimes they are necessary and sometimes we have an overprotective response. But until we develop these tools and really see and find the things that feel best for us, we can feel this empathic overwhelm very, very easily. And especially if we have difficulty saying no to people and things because we're constantly going into this automated response of trying to fill their needs before our own, because that's what we were raised to do if we were made empaths, or if our natural innate empathic abilities were superimposed with this made empath adaptation based on these childhood difficulties that we discussed. And so this is where we forget also that we are not only here to be attuners and pick up on all those things. First of all, we can turn that dial the other way around, and we can learn the process of unraveling what we've learned in difficulty, healing that, and then start attuning to the positive things. So this is why empaths are automatically, most of the time, soothed by going into nature and soothed and comforted by the things that are their coping mechanism, going back to the familiar things over and over again, because we know that we're safe and those things bring us joy. So what we can do is we need to learn the process of healing so that we can more automatically feel safe, respected, and protected. And then we could start transferring our empathic tuner to pick up on positive things and follow those positive signs as well, and also do self-worth work to know that we believe those positive things that we are picking up on, so that we can transfer out of this way of always needing to be there to help with the negative. But the other ability that people forget that we have, especially when we're using this and these gifts, is that every empath naturally is also a transmitter. So we have a projection ability. Everything that we use our voice for or show up for is amplified more than it is with the average person. And people can use this amplification for quote unquote good or quote unquote bad. And the bad way to use it, in my opinion, is if we are projecting things still from our wounded or victimhood place. And if we're not doing our inner work, or if we're not setting boundaries or saying no when our body or our soul is telling us to, then we could be unconsciously and most of the time unintentionally projecting things from that wounded empathic place as well, rather than setting an actual intention that we agree with for what and why we are transmuting something, or why and we are transmitting something. Excuse me, I got a little muddled in my words there, because transmuting and transmitting are both important things that we use our amplification for. So this is where you want to get into a practice, especially if you are in any way an activist, to ask yourself before you say yes to something, before you show up for something, or before you post about or create something based on especially anything that triggers you or gives you a reaction. You want to check in with yourself first and ask, is this appropriate for me to help with at this time? And be honest if it's a yes or a no answer. And be gentle with yourself, knowing that it is not selfish to follow the no. If it is a no for you, there is a reason behind that. Then you want to ask yourself, what is my intention in showing up, answering someone else's call, or posting about something? What really is my intention? And how much of that intention, how much of that urgency to post, share, or show up for others or for the world or a cause that's spurring you, how much of that is from my own need to feel understood rather than misunderstood, and or to feel validated, because a lot of people are posting about things or showing up for others or for causes that they generally do care about, but from a place where they're not realizing how much of their own wounding and childhood patterns and or need for validation and being understood by others or helping others to recognize that we care is actually the biggest motivating factor in how, why, and what they are sharing. Now, this is not judgment on those who do this. I have done this myself until I realized better. However, I would like more of us to understand and utilize the empathic as projector superpower positively and with the right intention, and understand that when we share about something, we are sending things out into the ethers, out into the atmosphere, even if it's simply pressing reshare on someone else's post or answering a call for a friend in need. We are amplifying things. And so if we are showing up with resentment or with validation seeking on any level, we are taking that transmutation or that transmission and we are clouding it with some of our own energy and stuff. Now, we are all entitled to our feelings and to our reactions. This is not to shame anyone or to say that we have to be perfect in our reactions or in our emotions before we show up or we do anything. But I know that if you really give yourself the time and space and even just a few seconds to think about it before you react or show up or post or answer a call in urgency, you will be able to take your reactive emotions and any of that muddled transmission that may be being sent with how you choose to show up, and you will be able to transform at least some of that energy. Even just a few seconds can help, right? And you can transform some of that energy into catalyzed, inspired action power, which is going to send a purer signal out into the ethers, out into the universe, and to others that you may want to inspire, rather than implement or project any of your own stuff onto the issue, cause, or other person. Especially if this is something like answering the call or helping someone else on a one-to-one basis and not necessarily public. If we do that with resentment, on some level the other person will feel that, and it can cause difficulties in the relationship. Now, granted, setting boundaries can also cause difficulties in a relationship if the other party isn't yet ready to understand or respect those boundaries, but that is a more integrous path to take, because what you are doing is showing the other people that you are standing in a space to respect your energy as well as respect theirs, and let them know that you trust the universe enough and love them enough to know that they will still be loved, supported, and or guided by the universe or by someone else who can show up, who may be able to help more with that at this time than you might have the time, space, energy, expertise, or capacity for. So please be gentle with yourself when you are going through these processes and asking yourself these questions and learning the empathic process of resetting your empathic nervous system to more of the positive and to a more boundaried way of being, as well as a more understanding place of utilizing these projections with empowerment and love and light, and spreading the messages that you intend and want to spread, rather than perhaps passing on the fear of the person you're sharing it with from before you because you didn't process those things, or any of your own fears or woundings. I think especially because of social media, we have to be really careful about how and what and why we are sharing something, and ask ourselves the question, are we passing along more hate and fear and anger, or are we passing along information with perspective and actual intention to be helpful? And another thing to note is that you're not necessarily here to help with everything, right? We are part of God, source, deity, all that is, in my opinion, whatever you like to call your higher power. But while we are incarnate in a human body, We don't have the capacity to care about and help with everything all at once within that body, because we simply don't have the ability yet. Although I know us to be multidimensional souls, we don't have the ability to support a body and the body's needs simultaneously with caring about and sending energy out into all directions, especially if we don't set up boundaries and systems to replenish that energy. So I want you to know and trust that there may be some things, while they may pull at your heartstrings, that are just not meant for you to speak about and or share or help with. And I want you to trust that feeling, because imagine if we had more people willing to not worry about what other people thought of us, not worry about if we were going to be judged for sharing or not sharing about a particular issue, circumstance, or world event, and simply just know if something was for us to help with or publicly care about or not, then we could all use our energies to more fully put towards the things that we do know we have the ability and the time and energy and space to help with. And then those things could actually get their positive resolve, their positive completion, rather than having all these empaths, these disempowered or less empowered empaths who are trying to send energy in all directions and maybe are being less successful in other areas that are specifically meant for them. What if we really got to the root of the things that are unique and fit uniquely with our special gifts, which are individual to each of us? We each have a different piece of the puzzle and perspective for a reason. And so I encourage you to find your piece of the puzzle and unashamedly go in that direction. Now, it's not to say we only have to be one or two things or help with one or two things, but if we can put more of our focus there and feel less guilty about pulling energy from other areas in order to put into our actual mission, more of us will succeed more quickly, more fully, and more completely, and not have to go back around in these cosmic cycles of learning difficult lessons as a society over and over again, in my opinion. There is also an important note about the fact that it's important empaths learn the technique of not matching energy. You know who likes to match energy? Narcissists. This is why we have the dark empath phenomenon, which I've spoken about a little bit this year and in some of the classes that I've hosted, because there are a lot of dark empaths out there who are spiritually informed but don't have spirituality as an innate part of them. They utilize it as a tool and technique to try to connect with actual spiritual people. They try to learn it, but it will never fit with who they actually are. They can mirror it, they can put it on as a mask, but it's not who they are. And this is who empaths are. And so I want us to understand that this matching energy can be exhausting, and it's why you see people on both sides of a fight typically stay in that fight, especially if it's something like politics or protests, because if you look at those people, if you look at their faces, people on both sides are usually matching energy. We don't want to match energy. We want to rise above the energy and get to things from the higher perspective, because really that's the only way that you can make a difference with a situation, in my opinion. So find the ways that you can rise above rather than match energy. And in order to do that, sometimes you may need to pull back. You may need to not show up publicly. You may need to send support or prayers or spells or rituals or whatever you do privately. If you are sending energy, please do so with consent. It's important from my perspective and how higher power has taught me to only send prayers and energy to people who are willing to receive it and or asking to receive it. Them telling you about a situation and asking for prayers or support is a form of consent. It doesn't have to be so formally done, but that is a form of consent. Or you can just let someone know, hey, can I mention you in my prayers? And if they say no, because maybe their beliefs are different than yours, we need to also learn to respect that and respect other people's processes. Okay, so this is a huge download here. I understand it's a lot of information, but these are the ways that I believe that we can take on our empaths as projector superpowers and utilize them more responsibly, more respectfully, and start seeing more empaths come online empowered and with the ability to make a difference in their life and in the lives of the people that we love, as well as a difference with the causes that we love in this world. And I really want to see more of that. I do also want to say, if you have been having a difficult time manifesting things for yourself personally as an empath, it may be a good time to look at your personal roots of your beliefs, your inner child wounding or patterns. That is something that I could do with you if you are called to do so with spiritual support. You can use the link in my description to contact me for a consult about one of my quantum, Sechem, and shamanic energy healing packages or life and consciousness coaching containers. I absolutely love to work with people on this deep level, and I do have lots of clients that have graduated recently, so I am looking for new monthly clients for those of you who would like to invest in yourself at this level and really work to turn these patterns around. Remember that we got these patterns with other people generally and typically how we were raised, so even if you are someone who does this work as well, there is no shame in getting the support of a healer or a coach like myself so that you have a safe space to address, heal, and rewrite those patterns and programs and reset your dial to things that are more empowering for you, because this is where I know I have personally struggled, as well as a bunch of my clients have struggled to manifest things for ourselves. It seems to be really easy to do it for others, but for ourselves it can be difficult or feel difficult to manifest things if we have been so used to being attuned to immediately pick up on the negative. And it is an unraveling, healing process to go about transforming that into utilizing our dial and turning it back to the positive and the positive synchronicities that we actually want and or need to see. So it would be my honor to work with you in that capacity. If you would like to do so, again, the link is in the description. If you would like to just explore working with me or don't feel you need to go into that deep of a level, I also offer quantum and Akashic Records reading sessions, as well as mini readings and more, which you will find on my website, Damsel Designs, DAMCL Links to that are in the description as well. On my website, you will also find energy art, activations, and enlightened merch, and other ways that I use my empathic and channeling abilities to project positive things within the world. So I would love to see you on my website. With that, I am going to invite you to take some time, if you can, after listening to this, to do your own stream of consciousness writing. As I suggested in the beginning, see what else can come through for you after you have gone through this listening. And the question that I would like you to ask yourself is, what am I here to help with? And see what comes through and learn to go about the process of trusting that, and see which things in your life have already matched up with the answer to that question and which things may no longer be a fit, because the truth is many of us may have already completed some of the things that we're here to help with, but we're sticking to that old personality and identity rather than going into the next thing that we may be here to help with. So I am so excited for those of you who are ready to go to your next level or to get clearer about the picture of what you're meant to help with. And always remember that your priority should be you. Helping, healing, understanding, and enjoying you is always, no matter what's going on in your life and no matter what your mission is, your top priority, because it goes hand in hand with everything you want, need, and can do for others. And no matter how excellent we are at helping others or the world, if that is our sole focus or sole ability, eventually we can burn out. And this is also where we get empathic burnout in the public sphere and spectrum, because public burnout is very real. People get all up in arms about a cause, and then they talk about it so much or post about it so much they can run out of the energy to actually do something about it. So learn to recognize the patterns of where that may be happening to you in your personal and or public mission life, and see the ways that you can go about changing it. You, as I said, can work with me or someone like me, and I just got an emphasis on alert there. Apologies if you heard that, but you can absolutely work with me or someone like me, or do this yourself with your spirit guides. Please remember, if you are going through traumas and or mental health issues, please bring a medical professional on board to help with that process. I myself am trauma informed, but always advise my clients to work with doctors as well to help with these issues. And believe it or not, you can find doctors who believe in spirituality. Thank goodness, because we've made that paradigm shift. So I hope all of you will go about these processes, find out more about yourself, and start enjoying your life and your empathic superpowers more. With that, I am going to close out this chat and channel session. If you haven't liked this already, please be sure to like it if you liked it and it resonated, so that it tells the algorithm that this was helpful to you and sends it out to other people that it may help. If you would like, you can share this video with others as well. I would really love and appreciate you getting this material out there to others in need. And please consider becoming a subscriber if you haven't already, so that you can keep up with other chat and channel sessions. Most of them are timeless material as well, so you can catch up through the chat and channel session playlist anytime through the link in the description. And stick around to my channel for future chat and channel sessions, other spiritually and metaphysically inclined videos, and more, as well as some other things I enjoy. Thank you so much to those of you who are subscribed already. If this has resonated and helped you, or if any other of my free and public works have helped you and you feel called and drawn and able, I do also have ways for you to support the channel and support the ability for me to get more free works out there publicly to help others in need. So you can support me and my public works and channel through paypal.me/DSEnlightenedEdits, or the donate links, which are also in the description. If you like and are so called, it is not a requirement, and all amounts you're called to give is really appreciated. I appreciate the energy exchange simply of you being here, but I know that we as empaths especially have to also be willing to ask for what we need and would actually help us with ourselves and our mission as well. So this is me being an example and practicing what I preach, and letting you know, if you would like to support the channel, you can do so through those abilities. Thank you so much to those of you who do that. Thank you, each and every one of you, for being here and energy exchanging with your presence and with your attention. I trust that my intention has come to fruition by this video planting seeds and or healing or helping you in the ways that it needed to. I hope to see you again. Be blessed with love, light, and light codes. Love, Danielle. #damsel at DSEnlightenedEdits of damseldesigns.com. Bye for now.